What's going on, everybody? Exceptional Gabe here, back with another edition of Exceptionally Animated, the show where we chat with some of the greatest voice actors in the industry. And today, I've got another wonderful voice actress in Toronto. Please welcome the amazing Elizabeth Hanna. Thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to join you, Gabe. What a lovely intro.
Oh, thank you so much. One of the first questions I always ask with these interviews is, what was your first ever voiceover role in the industry?
Oh, my first ever voiceover role was for a Japanese created version of The Wizard of Oz. So I was dubbing, but I got to dub everything. I got to dub Aunt Em. I got to dub the Wicked Witch of the West. I got to dub Glinda. And then, various bibbity bops here and there. So that was my very first, I think that was my very first one. Yeah, early on I did Babar, but I'm pretty sure that Wizard of Oz thing from the Japanese was the first. The Babar one was pretty cool though, because at the time I was in my 30s, early 30s. I think it was before, yeah, it was before I had my daughter, so early 30s, and I was auditioning for La Vieille Dame. I never call her the old lady because calling her La Vieille Dame is so much nicer. And of course, Babar spends time with her in Paris, and so I like to think of her as very French, even though she doesn't have a French accent. Anyway, they cast somebody else, but then they listened to the tapes again, and they went the 31-year-old, because the woman they had cast was a genuine older person. And then they recast it with me. And that was,
Oh,
that was cool. So Babar was huge for me.
because you were in quite a few iterations of Babar. You were in the show, you were in the movie, you were in Babar, the King of the Elephants.
Yes, I got to do elephant noises. I got to do Celeste. What's always lovely is the character you're cast as is, well, all of cartoon work is a delight. The character you're cast as is fun. But then when they say, "Oh, would you mind just doing this weird monkey character or this funny ostrich?" It's just a couple of lines, and the delight of jumping into it. It's a gas.
hmm And going back to Care Bear's Adventure in Wonderland, you voiced the Queen in that movie. How did it feel at the time being in such a large franchise as Care Bear? Was probably one of Nelvana's largest franchises back in the 80s.
Yeah, you know what? I think I was pretty clueless. I was excited to get the gig. I was excited to do the work, but I don't think I was that. The thing about voice work, as you undoubtedly have discussed, is often you go in by yourself. Often it's you and the director. Maybe some bigwigs are in LA or they're on the phone. But often it's just you, a sound guy, woman, and a director. And so pressure drops often. We'll probably get to it, but there are also occasions where there are different configurations, and that makes it quite special.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm sure Ellie Ray has talked about how lovely it is when you get to work as an ensemble, and we
Oh,
did that.
yes.
Yeah, we. I don't think we did it much in Babar. I'm positive we didn't do it for that particular Care Bear's first Queen of Hearts thing. I'm pretty sure it was just me, but Babar we did ensemble from time to time. Beetlejuice we did famously in ensemble. And something Police Academy. Is there a Police Academy on there somewhere or something?
Police Academy, the animated series.
That was it was not perhaps artistically brilliant and it wasn't Canadian, but my God, it was fun. There were about 6 or 7 of us. We went in, we would do 3 shows a morning at least. You were constantly getting other parts. They were fabulous. The other actors were just dynamite, so creative. Len Carlson, Dan Hennessy, some really wonderful people. It was a hoot, and the director was in the room with us. He was this ancient, relatively ancient. He's probably 10 years younger than I am now. But he was this older little guy with tons of energy. And man, he was an irreverent hoot. He was a delight.
And wasn't Ron Rubin in Police Academy as well?
Yes! Yeah, yeah.
And you did another show called Cops. Do you remember that show?
Did I do a lot of it?
Uh,
Sometimes people have to tell me the cartoons, and I go, I might have done a couple of episodes,
you
but I don't
voiced
really
Susie Young
remember.
in Cops.
Well, good for you. I don't remember Susie that well. I'm sorry. There's something you'll get. I mean, there are obviously some that I remember deeply, and others that perhaps have drifted into the sands of time.
Yep. A lot of voice actors I interviewed on my show has those certain roles that just, like you said, are erased from their memory banks.
Well, especially if they call you in for one episode of something or a couple of episodes of something.
Yeah. And you were also in The Legend of Zelda. You were the Triforce of Wisdom.
That is memorable. Have you talked to other actors who worked on that particular show?
Uh I can't even remember who all was in that show.
I don't either, but if you've talked to people who worked on that show, again, we're dealing with dubbing, but we're dealing with a different way of dubbing. So typically when you dub, and dubbing is the most fun when there aren't time constraints, when you've got a script and you get to play, right? And often you don't work that way. You have a little line go across the screen, and that is start talking when that line goes across the screen, and you better be done by the time that line leaves the screen. With The Legend of Zelda, there was this incredibly complex contraption, a band, it appeared, of canvas that would be at the top. Now, this is just going to be audio, so I better describe it better, eh? So, okay. A band of canvas about 2 feet wide that would have the script on it, and it was timed to the video. So supposedly all I had to do was look at the band of canvas because the script was there. Now, I'm gonna say this was it was an objet d'art because this is not something you get to produce on a computer. It had to have been done by hand, and the whole setup must have been quite strange for the timing. But it was annoying in that you want to look at the screen. That's where the character is, right? You want to connect with the screen and what the character's doing. And this pulled your eyes above the screen. Now, that's a disadvantage. However, the Triforce of Wisdom is beyond such petty things as connecting with this and that and being a Triforce of Wisdom. It was fairly still, so it was okay.
Mhm.
I think I got to do a couple of other characters in that as well.
So, in another show you brought up that was really good, you were in Beetlejuice. You got to do Delia Deet.
Delia Dietz, I got to do Ginger the tap dancing spider from Queens or Brooklyn, anyway. I don't know. And who else? I got to do Miss Shannon, who was a very, very uptight, somewhat anal teacher. And yeah, but Delia was what I was cast as, which of course I've thought about recently because of Catherine O'Hara's passing. And yeah, how special that experience was.
Mhm.
Do you know, and it may not even be on there, I got to do a pilot connected to this, a pilot for the Magic School Bus that Lily Tomlin ended up voicing.
You're in the
And,
Magic School Bus? I didn't know that.
well, I got to do the pilot. I think it wasn't even a pilot. I think they were in the we want to do the Magic School Bus
Mhm.
and we want to produce, so we're going to have a, a pitch episode. Do you follow me?
Yeah.
It was a pitch episode. So I got to do the pitch episode. I thought I was fabulous. I have listened to Lily Tomlin do it, and I love Lily Tomlin. I think I did an equally good job, but Lily Tomlin is a name, and I'm sure she managed to pull in some funding.
Hmm.
But it was a lot of fun to do that.
So going back to Beetlejuice, one of the questions I had, did you ever get to meet Catherine O'Hara back in the day?
No, I did not. I went to university with Dan Aykroyd, though.
Oh, that's so cool. And
It was
also,
cool. But go ahead.
also Beetlejuice had such an amazing ensemble cast, like you were talking about earlier. You
Oh,
you had Stephen Met as Beetlejuice and Allison Colt, who was famous from the Big Comfy Couch.
yeah, this is before Big Comfy Couch. She was amazing. She was really, really good. Stephen Wynette was brilliant. He was fantastic. And it was done in ensemble, I'd say about 80% of the time. So it was a lot of fun to do. It was a hoot, just
Hmm.
a hoot.
And then were you also in one of the iterations of Hello Kitty back in the day?
That was really early on. I was almost going to mention it when you were talking about Babar and things like that because it was very very early and I was still figuring things out. It was generally done ensemble and it was a lot of fun. I can't even remember. Does it say what character I played?
It says you voiced the mama.
Okay, I tend to do a lot of mamas.
I'm gonna have to look more into that
Oh
after our
no, it's
interview.
fine. It's yeah, I probably did play a mama. I remember having a recurring role and various things, but it was pretty early on.
And also another early role you did, you were in Dog City.
That was fantastic. That was fantastic. I do think being being able to play an Irish setter called Rosie O'Grady that is pretty much a Lauren Bacall ripoff. Oh, what fun! Because it only had one season, but I think everybody who was involved in it really thought the show was very special. It combined the cartoon with puppetry, right?
I
Did you
believe it
watch
was
some of
Jim
it?
Henson, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was pretty cool. And I think we were all kind of shattered when it only went the one season because we had so much fun doing it. Yeah.
I
Ron
know.
White. So Rosie O'Gravy was the chief of police, and she was this gorgeous Irish setter. And I got to do this very sexy Lauren Bacall voice. And Ron White was the Humphrey Bogart-ish gumshoe character. It was a gas.
Oh yeah, Dog City was very underrated. I definitely agree with you. I wish it would have been on longer. It aired on, I think it was Fox here in the States, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, and Also another show you did around that time, you were in Tales from the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah, I didn't do a ton of those, but it was um, the the range. I wonder if Ellie Ray talked about it. The kinds of characters you go, okay, I get to do another witch. That and I expect Ellie Ray and I both love doing our witches. I don't know if I get a lot of warm mothers, and I like my warm mothers or my kind of flaky mothers like Delia Deets, but nothing like a good, crazy, insane witch. Is something called, I played a character called Panthea, Mia and Me. Again, is a show around 2010, 2011 that again only ran, it seemed, a year or so. It kept changing its name, which is never a good sign. Do you see
Mm.
some Mia and Me around 2010,
Yeah,
2000?
Mia and Me, you were Panthea, yeah.
Yeah, Panthea was my absolute favorite villain. She was incredibly insane and humorously neurotic, which is, it's always wonderful when you play a crazy, horrible villain who has a goofy side. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And this was obviously one of the most popular shows back in the day to use Toronto voice actors. Were you in Sailor Moon back in the day?
Yes, and I have a confession to make. When you were asking me questions about the Triforce of Wisdom,
Yeah.
I mixed it up with Sailor Moon. So
Oh,
everything I said about Sailor Moon and the dubbing, everything I said about the Triforce of Wisdom, it was Sailor Moon that had that dubbing. Oh dear, oh dear. I'm so sorry. This is what happens when you're old. You get things mixed up. Because what character is listed there for Sailor Moon? Because it wasn't terribly unlike the Triforce of Wisdom.
you're the tree of life.
Well, there you go. Tree of Life, Triforce of Wisdom. I mean, you know. So, what I said was truthful when I said my eye had to go up to read the words that I was saying, but as the Tree of Life, I wasn't moving around a heck of a lot, so it was okay. I do apologize. I'm so sorry. They are characters of similar, they're in that range of I am above it all and I know everything.
Yeah, both the characters are very similar now that you mention it. And again, I think the only real difference, and I don't know if you remember this, but
The
um,
rhyming.
yeah, all of your lines were in rhyme, which I thought was very neat.
I must say, I remember the Sailor Moon stuff was longer and more memorable overall because it was clear this was a big thing. It was a huge project to take on. I mean, they had many seasons of it, and it had been established in outside of Canada, so the dubbing job was enormous, and it
Mm-hmm.
was a cool project to be involved in, and just
Mm-hmm.
neat to look at it because it is early anime, right?
Yeah, most
Yeah.
definitely.
And so I was looking at it going, wow, this is very interesting. Very interesting.
And
So
then,
again, I apologize for mixing up my all-knowing characters, but it was Sailor Moon that had the dubbing band that went across that you read from.
no, it's okay. It's okay. And next show is by far your most memorable show, in my opinion. I'm, of course, talking about the lovable Little Bear.
Aww. It's interesting. Beetlejuice would be the most memorable for me, but I adored this show and it was such a delight to work on. I've got a little story about the audition because I played Hen on that and I was familiar. Maurice Sendak, of course, huge, I'm shivering, a big Canadian star in terms of the beautiful books he's written that will last forever. And these are gorgeous books. And it is delight to read Little Bear. I hadn't read Little Bear to my kids. And by the time I'm doing Little Bear, my kids are 10, 11. They're too old for it. So I read it, but it was a different way. But I've read it to my granddaughter and I've enjoyed it. For the audition, at this point, I've done lots of work for Nelvana. They know me very well. And they call me in and they want me to read for Hen. And I go in and talk like a hen. And they just go, no, just be you. Just be you. And I've often described Hen as me and a little anal. And that's all it is. It's just, hello, little bear. How are you? You know, it's not a crazy voice. And often people who don't who don't really look at cartoons, they can't really separate the voice from the character sometimes. And yes, there are big crazy voices, but sometimes it's the acting, not the voice that's crazy. And the voice can be fairly normal. Anyway, I thought it was amusing that they went, no, 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 you're just read it like you. It was so much fun to sing though, because I got to sing a lot because she had her opera stuff. That was a lovely cast. It was a lovely cast. Yeah, and they were jewels. Everybody was a jewel in that group, and I think the opposite of the police academy where we did 3 shows in a morning. This was here a week, do a show a week, wait a couple of weeks, do another show. At this point in my life, I had returned to school. I was back at U of T and going to school full time, getting a master's degree. So it was a really wonderful transition.
Mm-hmm. But as you said, that show did have an amazing cast. Little Bear was voiced by Kristen Fairley. Uh, you had Andrew Sabiston. You had
Yes.
uh, Tracy Tracy Ryan as Duck, and you had
Duck was hilarious. Wasn't she fabulous? Oh,
yes,
God, she was funny.
and you had uh, Amos Crawley as
Amos
Owl.
Crawley was Cat. Oh,
No, Owl. He was Owl. And
Owl. Who was
Andrew
Cat?
Sabiston was Cat.
Andrew Sabiston. Yes, that's right. Andrew Sabiston was Cat, and Amos was Owl. But oof, they were all each person was just fantastic. Tracy, I had not known at all, and I thought she was, to my mind, just stellar. Yeah, it was a great cast.
Was
And
that show done ensemble, or was that recorded all separately?
mostly ensemble, mostly ensemble, but yeah, here and there you would go in separate. It depends. But there was a when you if it was an episode where there was a lot of interaction, I think they worked very hard to get at least 3 or 4 of us there.
Mhm. And also, Little Bill has to be one of the most just relaxed and wholesome shows ever created. I love the relaxed atmosphere, and I truly believe, and I mentioned this in our email, it's a great show for people on the autism spectrum like myself, because it's just so relaxing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It was very I'm going to say, I mean, it was particularly positive to work in. And I'd say shows like Police Academy, where you have more male energy and it was very funny. Sometimes there was a competitive aspect. Sometimes there was a bit of a competitive aspect with Beetlejuice. But by and large, and I bet you hear this from people, that the voiceover world generally, and animation in particular, is just fun.
Mm-hmm.
That people don't go, oh my God, that was so stressful. It was awful. Once in a while, I've done a voiceover for a commercial where I go, I can't believe this is my 64th take. They're going to take 3. I know it. But even then, it's never terribly stressful. But cartoons are they're just a delight.
Mm-hmm.
Just a delight.
That's why I love animation and voice acting so much.
Are you interested in doing it yourself?
I actually recorded my own voiceover demo reel in Los Angeles last year, and I am friends with a bunch of people in the industry, and I love building connections.
Well, that's a big part of any job, but especially acting. Connections.
Mm-hmm. And another show that I wanted to mention that's also on the same levels of Little Bill. Were you in Franklin?
Franklin, I think I was in the Franklin movie playing a mother. Again, I recall I might have been an eagle. Does it say what I was?
Yeah, Ego and Mrs. Fox.
Oh, Mrs. Fox. I don't remember Mrs. Fox. I remember the eagle.
That must have
I'm
been the
pretty sure
mother
it
you
was the
played.
I'm pretty sure it was the Franklin movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, and
Uh,
I remember being an eagle and protecting.
Franklin and the
Protecting.
Green Knight.
Okay. So
Yep.
you say.
um, and you were also in Rolie Polie Olie, weren't you?
Yes. And every time people like you, wonderful people who read my resume more carefully than I do, will talk about Rolie Polie Olie, and I'll go, yeah, it's a memorable name for a cartoon. I don't remember it at all. We have moved. We are now in an area of probably doing one or two episodes of things, but it's still a ways back. Like one or two episodes of things that I've done in the last 5 years, I remember. I remember doing an avatar voice. I remember for a video game. I remember, of course, doing Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, which I think is still running, but
Mhm.
I've done that for a few years, and a few other ones. Margaret, did you know Margaret Atwood wrote a cartoon?
No, I did not.
And I know it isn't on my resume, and I think I need to go looking for it. I've recently read her memoir, and she mentioned the cartoon, and it came back to me. It was a lot of fun to do. It only ran for one season. I did about 5 or 6 episodes. I don't remember the character name, but you made me think of it when you talked about the Triforce of wisdom rhyming, because each episode focused on a couple of letters and a whole bunch of words with those letters. So each episode was full of weird Peter picked a peck of pepper, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. That kind of repartee. It was very interesting. Yeah, Margaret Atwood wrote a cartoon.
So here, I'm gonna grab something real quick, okay?
Do it.
Yeah. So here, I still got a plush of Rolie Polie Olie.
Oh my God! So you can tell me about Rolie Polie Olie. Tell
Yes,
me all
and
about Rolie Polie
yeah.
Olie.
So I grew up watching the show a lot, and I know exactly the character you voice. I'm gonna show you a picture. Does this look familiar at all? This character?
No, but the fact that I would play a kindly lady does. 'Cause, I mean, it's and I hope you see that I have a range of characters, but there are motherly, kindly ladies. There are vicious, horrible, bad people. There are kind of ditzy people, and a few other variations and some odd things. But thank you, kindly lady. Tell me about Roly Poly Oly.
So, well, basically, it was created by William Joyce, who's an amazing author and illustrator. He did two shows for Nelvana, Rolie Polie Olie and Jode Shrinks. I don't think you and Jode Shrinks, but um, another amazing show. Anyway, your character was in, I think she was only in the movie, if I'm not mistaken. In the movie, Rolie Polie Olie's parents adopted two new babies, and both of the babies were both voiced by another Canadian legend, Julie Lemieux, who I'm sure you
Oh,
know.
Julie Lemieux. Yeah, fabulous. Have you talked to her yet?
No, but I might be getting her on here soon.
I hope you do. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she's super strong, super fabulous. Thank you for showing me the kindly lady.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime. And another show you're only in a couple episodes of. Do you remember doing the Berenstain Bears?
Nope. I mean,
Ah,
I know who the Berenstein Bears are, but and it's another one that I go, yep, I see it's there, and I remember vaguely getting the gig and going in, but no, didn't. And I wonder, you see, when you do a one-off, you're rarely going in with the whole gang together. You're going in with your voice, and you're just doing your part, and sometimes might take 20 minutes, and
mhm.
that's all it takes. And it's 20 minutes out of your life. You're paid incredibly well for those 20 minutes, but they may have cast you just on spec or from your tape or something like that. Yeah, it's the things that you've auditioned for and had a callback for, and then maybe did a test. Poof, those ones you remember, and the ones where they go, oh, okay, yeah, I'll go in.
And you were also in Elliot Moose, which I don't know if you remember that show, but just like Dog City, it had puppetry and cartoons in it.
What character did I do at Elliot Moose?
You voiced a dragon character. See if I can,
Oh,
let me see if I can
oh,
find a picture of it. Okay. Yeah.
so, well, great. Yeah, I vaguely remember Elliot Moose. I don't remember the specific gig, but I remember the cartoon.
Yeah, this was the character right here. This little dragon kid.
Oh, that's a very nice dragon. Does the dragon have a name?
Yeah, Drusilla the dragon.
Drusilla the dragon. I will make sure that that is put into my resume. Drusilla the dragon. Great.
But yeah, Elliot Moose, like I said, it was like Dog City. It had segments where like all of the characters were like puppets, and then there was a segment where everyone's animated. Very interesting show.
Yeah. How long did it run for?
I think it only ran for one season, if I'm not mistaken. It's another Nirvana show, of course.
Yeah, Nelvana was huge, right, in the 90s,
hmm
90s and 80s. You just enormous, yeah.
hmm And were you in the Cat in the Hat? Knows a lot about that.
I was, and I'm going, we're going into this embarrassing bit where I go, yeah, you probably know more about what character I played than I do. Because again, I think you've got Pippi Longstocking there and Mythic Warriors. There are a bunch that I just go, I'm a little stumped until we get to the more recent ones. I'm so sorry, Gabe. But what did I play in Cat in the Hat?
It looks like you played like a couple, again, incidentals where you just, came in and out of the studio.
Yep, yep.
But do you know Rob Tinkler?
No, I don't.
So
Rob?
Rob Tinkler is another amazing voice actor in Toronto. He voiced just about every character in that show. He voiced
Oh.
Thing One, Thing Two, and Fish. And um, the Cat in the Hat was voiced by Martin Short, who is obviously big name.
Huge. Yes, and probably not coming in and doing ensemble work.
Yeah, probably not. Usually the celebrities are never there ensemble.
No, no,
I don't
they're
know if
not.
that's a word, but I'm making it a word. Ensemble.
It's a word. They're not there ensemble. No, they don't need to be there ensemble.
Oh man.
That's
And
okay.
most recently I believe you're in Conan Peg.
Corn and Peg. Yeah, I think that I do recall doing Corn and Peg. There's something else. There are a couple of other ones in that vintage. Corn and Peg, and I think I played a horse, didn't I? Does it
Uh
say? What what does it say for a name?
Miss Biscuit.
Miss Biscuit, I'm pretty sure she was a horse and it was a hoot. That was fun to it was a lot of fun to do that. Uh, because that would be a departure. I joke with people. I go, I've played a lot of animals who seem to have interesting professions despite the fact they have no opposable thumbs. But don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure Miss Biscuit was a horse, and I'm pretty sure I had a buddy horse that I worked with. I don't remember much beyond that. I'm sorry. But it was a different kind of voice because it was a heavier a heavier entity than I usually play. I'm talking now like I weigh more than I do. I'm pretty sure they would be in that range. And maybe a slower personality in some ways. I tend to play quick creatures.
And one other show I believe you were in, this was back in the day. You were in Shining Time Station.
That'd be about trains, wouldn't it? There
Yeah,
were trains involved there.
basically Shining Time Station was one of the first adaptations of Thomas the Train
Yeah.
in North America.
Yeah. Don't have any specific memories of it though. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So what was cool about Shining Time Station? It utilized live action footage. Again, they had some puppetry there
Oh,
as well.
oh,
Uh,
yes.
and the Thomas the Train segments were all dubbed um, from the original, British actors. They dubbed them in Canada, and
Mm.
they utilized the Thomas segments with the, live action segments. It was a cool show.
Yeah, it's coming back to me. When you talked to me, it was coming back. And that was way back, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And they had a similar show called The Naughty Shop, which took another famous British cartoon, Naughty, and they did this.
Noddy, yeah.
Yeah, and they did the same thing. They, kind of mixed around live action segments with the original Naughty segments, dubbed into, using Canadian voice actors. Uh, I know. You ever worked with Fiona Reed?
I have worked with Fiona Reed here and there, but not on cartoons. Was she a naughty?
Yeah, she was in that show, and also Allison Court was in that show, and Jane Eastwood. Do you know her?
Oh, Jane Eastwood, wonderful actor. Yeah.
So that show just had an amazing cast.
It's interesting who ends up doing stuff. I think, for example, in Beetlejuice, I'm pretty sure that was the only cartoon that Stephen Ouimet did. Do you know if he did other cartoons?
Yes, he did. He was in Babar, and he was in. You ever heard of Maggie and the Ferocious Beast?
No, but he was in Babar. So I must have run into him when he was doing Babar. Of course, Gordon Pinsett did Babar.
Mhm.
That was huge. But interesting, because I mean, he was people people discover who people who are wonderful actors in every medium discover that doing cartoons is a huge amount of fun, and so they push themselves into it. And then there are people who did cartoons and never did anything else, or
Mhm.
very little else.
Hmm. So, before we wrap it up here, I had one other question I wanted to ask you. So obviously, you're doing it is speech therapy, correct? That you're doing now.
I'm a speech language pathologist. So
Okay.
speech therapy is one of the things you do, but speech language pathologist, for 20 years I worked in hospitals
Okay.
with individuals who had strokes, head injuries, neurological damage. So speech therapy doesn't cover it because it's helping them talk again, helping them communicate, maybe using augmentative and alternative communication, which of course is so much easier to access than it was 20, 30 years ago. And I have a private practice now where, yeah, I would say what I do now is speech and language therapy, professional communication, a lot of career coaching.
Okay. Okay. So I was wondering, are you still doing voice acting these days?
Not a lot, not a lot. Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. I am Nana, and I think Nana is a platypus. Again, she has fabulous opposable thumbs somehow because she works as a hairdresser. It is a brilliant show to be involved in. You spoke earlier about Little Bear being very calm and relaxing. And indeed, I would say the same thing about Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. Again, another thing that's lovely about it is there's lots of music. Do you know Heather Bambrick? She's a she is a wonderful jazz vocalist. She's on she is on Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, and
No.
that's what made me think of. Well, look her up, and she might be somebody you might contact. I have a feeling she's done a few other things.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into that.
Yeah,
Um,
and I did voicing for an Avatar video game that was a hoot because it pulled in some of the speech pathology because I had to have a slight accent as if I was from the planet. I forget the name of the planet that the people in Avatar come from, but on that planet, they speak a different language. And what we do in movies, since we've had movies, is even though if you have a movie that takes place in France, you will often have people speak with a little bit of a French accent, even though they'd be speaking French in any case. So I got to work. There is a language that has been developed, and it's a very, very comprehensive language. And people write poetry in it and sonnets in it and speak it on a daily basis. And I got to learn aspects of that language so I could speak with a hair of a touch of that accent. But that involved speaking to somebody who has a background similar to mine in terms of, oh, they're unaspirated stops. I see. Oh, okay. And all the T's are this sound. I mean, it involves a lot of linguistics. It was very cool to work on.
Oh, wow. And do you have any final words to our audience who watches these videos?
Cartoons are magical. Cartoons are magical. They've been magical since they were first started. You who love cartoons know how brilliant the old cartoons are. But as a medium, it is still developing and it is full of potential. Even as we see AI make some things easier and maybe go too fast, we still see brilliance. We still see brilliance, and I hope the human voice will always be involved.
Amen. I agree with you. AI, voice actors.
Yeah, yeah. I can hear it. Whenever I listen to the New York Times, or I read the New York Times, and periodically I listen, and they will kindly announce when they have an AI voice reading an article, and I always go, real person wouldn't have said that. I always catch them. Gabe, it's wonderful what you do. Please send me links and things so I can listen to your podcast.
I will most definitely. And thank you so much for joining me. I truly appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for reaching out. I hope I didn't bore you or screw things up with a whole bunch of things. But I really don't remember doing that as well as I remember some of the early stuff.
No,
But
it was great. It was a lot of fun.
good. Okay. Well, my thanks. Thank you so much for reaching out. I'm very glad.
You're
Reach out again
welcome.
if you choose to, okay?
All right, bye.